Minehead got its name from a similar-sounding Celtic word meaning hill or headland, and records show that it was well established as a port by the early 15th century. But the curved pier that forms the harbour was built 2 centuries later. Until then, there'd just been a jetty in the middle of the bay. Here, the headland provided very effective shelter from the prevailing winds, and Minehead became the safest harbour on the southern shore of the Bristol Channel. When this pier was completed in 1616, it immediately turned Minehead into a boom town. For the next 100 years, it was prosperity all the way. In fact, the only port along this entire Bristol Channel coast to deal with a greater volume of cargo was Bristol itself. From here at Minehead, they had trading links with Wales, with Ireland, the Mediterranean, Virginia, and the West Indies. And while the major commodity handled was wool, they did deal with a lot of other cargoes as well. And on top of that, they had a fishing fleet, which every year brought in enough herring to fill 4,000 barrels. The cannon are a legacy from that period. 10 of them were installed in the early 18th century to deter the very real threat of attack from French ships during the War of the Spanish Succession. But then the tide turned. By the end of the 18th century, the wool trade had dwindled away. There'd always been problems with silting up in the harbour, and then suddenly at the beginning of the 19th century, the shoals of herring disappeared from the Bristol Channel, so even the fishing industry went into decline. But by then, another industry had already begun to develop here in Minehead. A guidebook describing the town and written in 1790 stated, "On account of the pleasantness of the situation and salubrity of the air, a number of persons of fashion have been induced to visit it as a bathing place in the summer season." Tourism had arrived. It was when the railway came in 1874 that Minehead was really transformed into a flourishing seaside resort, and the age of steam can still be experienced on the West Somerset Railway. In a similar way, visits from the cruise ship Balmoral recall the time when steamers brought trippers over from Cardiff every day. What a lovely sight that is. It was Billy Butlin who was responsible for the biggest change ever to hit Minehead. The year was 1962. Following the success of the 8 holiday camps he'd set up in other parts of the country, the first of them was at Skegness in 1936, he'd decided that this was where the next Butlin's holiday camp was to be built. Today, it's the largest residential holiday centre in Europe. In fact, probably anywhere. It's now called Summer West World, but it's not just the name that's changed. In 1985, a massive redevelopment plan was undertaken. It was felt that the public might be starting to see holiday camps as a thing of the past, and that the image had to be improved. The scheme cost £10 million, but when you learn that there are at least 10,000 customers plus 1,000 staff on the site, you begin to realise just how immense the size of the operation is here. Paul Rumke is the director.
We're 165 acres. We've got 2,350 chalets and a theatre that holds 1,800 people, bars that hold 2,000 or 3,000 people. But that's the kind of area you need to get a balance where people can get served for the most part comfortably, even when we're full.
So what did you spend all of that money on, that huge £10 million investment? What did you actually change?
The main proportion was on accommodation. We hadn't kept up with people's expectations, and the kind of accommodation they expected when they came on holiday wasn't what they were getting from us in the late 60s, early 70s. So half of the investment initially went on accommodation, and the other half went on introducing some fun pools and water slides, new show bars, refurbished amusement parks.
We always associate competitions like knobbling knees and glamorous grannies with holiday camps. Does that sort of thing still go on?
Not really, no. I don't think we've had a knobbly knees competition for about 10 years now. We do run some national competitions. We have talent competition for the children because they still enjoy it. We've got glamorous grandmother and holy princess competitions, which are done on a national basis. And in that way, the QE2 thought that was a good idea because they're including them as well.
Do you ever get the feeling that perhaps you're swamping Minehead?
I think they do sometimes. But yes, they've got a population of 8,000 people, and we're full. As you said before, we're probably something in excess of 11,000. But we're also very important to Minehead. We're part of the community, and the spin-offs and benefits to the local community are not don't go unacknowledged. So they're quite pleased we're here.
So you have quite a good working relationship with Minehead, do you?
Extremely good. Extremely good.
The town of Minehead offers a rather different kind of holiday, stemming from the days when a lot of people either used it as a base for exploring Exmoor or came just for a quiet, relaxing time. Fears were expressed by many local residents when Billy Butlin announced his plans, but Les Jowett, chairman of the Tourism Committee on both Town and District Council, confirms that the arrangement works well.
The establishment and the town complement each other all the time.
In what way do they complement each other?
Well, the people inside come out and us outside go in. We use it quite a lot, the townsfolk do, and their own guests come out and look at our town and look at Exmoor.
But it does, of course, put a drain on your resources, doesn't it? It must do, not just in terms of what you have on offer here in the town, but also electricity, sewage, drainage, water, all of those things.
That is true, but it can be coped with work that's going on now, particularly on the sewage front. These problems are being taken care of, and we can cope with it. And indeed, we shall be looking to the future to coping with even more people going in there and more people coming to our town.
Let's concentrate on the sewage for a little while, because it's one of the things that has caused you some concern and aggravation in the past. Your beaches have not exactly got a clean bill of health from the EEC. In fact, the beach that we're walking along at the moment has in the past been one that's contained quite a lot of raw sewage. What are you doing about that?
Well, Wessex Water Authority is spending in the region of £11–12 million in putting in new equipment, new outfalls, new modern drains to solve the problem. And very shortly now, that problem will in fact be solved. And the town and district councils are looking to actually try to meet the EEC standards for the Blue Ribbon.
Totally solved, or just a cosmetic job to move it further down the coast?
Totally solved. No question about that.
The town itself, for years now, has been very much a tourist holiday centre. What does it have to offer now, in the 1980s?
What we're offering now is what we've done in the past, to offer a touring centre for Exmoor, and now into the 90s we should be looking, in fact, the old, if you like, old-fashioned seaside holiday resort. In the past we've had this problem with the beach, and we've tended to ignore the beach in our promotion. But from 1990 onwards, the beach will be part of that promotion. In other words, come to Minehead to swim again.
But you do have to, of course, compete with very inexpensive package holidays to the continent, which can sometimes work out even cheaper than having a holiday at home. So why should people want to come to Minehead when all they've got is a beach, which they can actually get in the south of France or Spain?
Very true, but I think one has to take the thing in context. There is a huge market still left in this country of people that do not want to go abroad. By definition, they don't want to eat foreign food. They don't want to suffer jippy tummies in Greece or Spain or wherever. There's a very big market left to tap still, and we can offer a home-brewed tourist destination which can give the best of the sea and the inland resort area.
This is a custom that's taken place in Minehead for centuries. It's the hobby horse, or to be more accurate, the sailor's hobby horse. It comes out on the last day of April and performs on the first 3 days of May every year. Accompanied by music wherever it goes, it prances and pirouettes its way around the town, and indeed the whole neighbourhood, much to the delight of the local populace. The procession normally collects money for charity as it goes along, but today's performance is being put on especially for us. The origins of the hobby horse have been lost in the mists of time. It's been suggested that it's a survival of a fertility rite, or that it commemorates some long-forgotten event. But the keeper of the horse, John Leach, explains what's considered to be the most likely theory.
Well, we're led to believe that we're supposed to have frightened the Danes away. It's possible that men dressed up in old rags and beat drums and hid away in the hills and waited for them to come and come down. But that's what we're led to believe. But it's like religion, really. Some people believe it, some people don't.
So how did the horse evolve? Because it's in the shape of a boat, isn't it?
Well, possibly that goes back to the days of seamen. If you look at the frame, it's made just like a lobster pot, you might say, really. It's all made of withy sticks and tarred cord and bound together tightly. And maybe back in those days they did a lot of lobster potting. And, or possibly, you don't know, they might have got a old boat and turned that upside down.
That particular horse actually is very old, isn't it?
It's very old, yes. It's as old, that horse is as old as when I was a child, and it was talked of as being a very old horse then.
How do you qualify to be someone who would work the hobby horse?
Well, they're mainly people who've had it handed down from families who have carried it years before them.
How did you come then to be the keeper of the hobby horse?
Well, because I have been with it the longest.
So you get the honour of looking after it.
I get the honour and all the hard work of looking after it.
How does the public like it?
I think that the children of the town, they actually grow up with it. And they're brought up to be frightened of it. And the wonderful thing is to have the children absolutely racing towards the hobby horse and then running away and screaming, and then the hobby horse chasing them, and then they come back again. And then the hobby horse swings around and tries to hit them with the tail, with the weight of its body, which is just like a tidal wave.
It looks as if everybody involved has a good time.
Oh, they really love it. They really like it. It's quite a heavy thing to carry around, and you've got to get yourself in rather a cheerful mood before you do it.
The most picturesque part of Minehead is known as Higher Town, and it's the only area that gives a real sense of the past. It's a popular place with artists and photographers, and this scene appears on a lot of postcards. A long, winding set of steps leads up to the 15th century church of St. Michael, where, it's said, a light used to be kept burning in one of the windows to act as a guide for sailors and fishermen out on the Bristol Channel. The area around the harbour is known as Quay Town, and it's here that a small church was created in 1910. It's the Fisherman's Chapel, and appropriately it's dedicated to St. Peter. The focus of the chapel is the painting over the altar. It depicts Christ watching over a local vessel, in fact, Minehead's very last sailing coaster, the Emma Louise. It's a recent painting, the work of a local artist, and it serves as a reminder of one of the town's most celebrated stories, as does the building itself. The chapel was originally one of two adjoining cellars or storehouses that were built early in the 1600s by Robert Quirk, who was a local ship owner. He was at sea one day in a three-masted bark when a tremendous storm blew up. In fact, it was so bad he was convinced that the ship would be lost with all hands. So he went down on his knees and he vowed to God that if he survived, he would build almshouses in the town for the poor. Well, he did survive, and these are the almshouses he built. The bell on the roof was apparently his own ship's bell. Minehead calls itself the Gateway to Exmoor, and North Hill, just to the west of the town, is where Exmoor meets the sea. I'm now making my way around the 5-mile-long hill in a boat called Magic, which its owner says is the fastest pleasure craft in Minehead. There's confidence for you. John's going to let me take over the helm.
Push the lever forward, we've got the full speed.
What's full speed going to be?
About 25 knots.
There will be nothing on land.
Try it.
And so at last we reach the Vale of Porlock and aim towards the little harbour of Porlock Weir over on the far side. It's rather amusing that the entrance channel into the harbour is marked with 2 saplings just stuck into the shingle. But great care has to be taken to get the centre of the channel directly under the keel, especially on a day like today, because even at high tide there's hardly enough water to get in. That's the Bristol Channel for you. People always seem to be fascinated by the comings and goings of boats, and Porlock Weir is one of the most popular places for them to come and watch the nautical world in action. And someone's even willing to give a bit of help with a bike. Porlock Weir, quaint though its little harbour is today, was once a very busy port. The countryside around is so rugged that this was the easiest way to get in and out. And because of their remoteness, the hills and cliffs to the west of Porlock Vale have from time to time over the centuries been a dumping ground for society's outcasts. Convicted criminals, prisoners of war and lepers have all been transported here and just left to fend for themselves. But next to a stream that tumbles down a secluded valley, the Christian needs of this isolated area have always been served by a parish church. It didn't have to be big, and it wasn't. Culbone Church is the smallest complete parish church in England that's still in regular use. It has both nave and chancel, and its overall dimensions are just 35 feet long by 12 feet wide. And it's old. There are even features dating back to Saxon times, like this double window carved from a single block of sandstone. This was a little window where the lepers, who were forbidden to enter the church, could watch the services. The church is dedicated to St. Buno, a 6th century saint who, like several others, came over from Wales to establish Christianity on this side of the Bristol Channel. The village of Porlock was once a port, but now lies a mile inland from the beach. And here there's a church dedicated to St. Dubricius, another 6th century Welsh missionary. The spire lost its top during a storm in 1700, but one mischievous tradition has it that it was taken and used as the complete spire on the little church at Culbone. Porlock is a pretty village, but it is somewhat marred by the fact that the A39, the main coast road, runs right through it. Still, if you get stuck in the holiday traffic, you might be lucky enough to see a traditional craft like this being practiced. It was at the Ship Inn that the poet Robert Southey composed a sonnet about Porlock in 1798. He went on to record in his journal, "This place is called in the neighbourhood the end of the world. All beyond is inaccessible to carriage or even cart." Indeed, even today, Porlock Hill is faced with trepidation by the motorist. Rising to well over 1,000 feet, much of it at a gradient of 1 in 4, it can be a tough test of brakes on the way down and radiators on the way up. So transport has always presented a problem. But equally, people have always wanted to trade and move goods from place to place. And so there were tracks across the hills and moors. And where they crossed a river, there was often a narrow stone bridge, like this one, in the village of Allaford. It's called a pack horse bridge, and while there are several of them in villages all over Exmoor, this one has to be the best known of them all. And this is Joey, who was laden up just as he would have been in the days when a pack horse was really the only viable way of carrying goods around this rough and roadless terrain. Now, in fact, Joey is an Exmoor pony, and in all honesty, any kind of horse or pony would have done the job of a pack horse, but it was his forebears that people in this area would have used to do the job. Good lad. Good lad. Joey comes from an old farm in the village, but it's not an ordinary one. It's the Somerset Farm Park. Here they've collected together all the old breeds of animal that would have been on an Exmoor farm in the past, and some of them come as a bit of a surprise to our modern eyes. It provides a living history lesson for 9,000 school children a year, as well as being host to thousands more visitors that flock here during the summer. And there are demonstrations. This one is being given by Kathy Steed, who runs the farm park.
Thank you. Now, this is Queenie. Queenie carries one of the most decorated sets of Shire horse harness that have ever been made. Now, on special days, festivals, May days, little local carnivals, these very splendid sets of parade harness were put on a horse, a very strong horse, many of them were very heavy, and that horse was led through the streets, and so it became known as walking parade harness. The object of the exercise seemed to be to see how much brass anybody could get on one horse. The bells are simply a fancy version of the 4 big bells a horse used to wear on its collar if it was working in an area of very narrow lanes. It was like the horn on a car. The bells rang on the collar of the first horse in a team and warned people that it was coming round a narrow corner. On this decorated harness, the number of bells have been very much exaggerated.
It takes a good 20 minutes to fit all the harness on, but when it's finally in place, it makes a staggering display. With brass weighing 2.5 hundredweight, it's not only one of the most decorated sets, it's also thought to be the heaviest set of harness in Britain. At 1,700 feet, Dunkery Beacon is the highest point on Exmoor. It belongs, as does virtually all the land as far as the eye can see, to the Honeycutt estate, which is now National Trust property. It's beautiful countryside, and there are some delightful villages here too. Nestled into one of the hills rising from the Vale of Porlock is a village that's acknowledged to be one of the loveliest in the country, definitely not to be missed. I would imagine that views of Selworthy have appeared on the lids of countless chocolate boxes, but that's not to be derogatory about it. It just really is that pretty. It's not a genuine village, though. There's no school, inn or village hall. It just consists of 7 cottages round a large green, and they were all built in 1828 to house retired workers on the Honeycutt estate. The tall chimneys that are so common in the West Country were designed to ensure that the fires drew well. There was often not only an open fire, but also a little semicircular bread oven like this behind it. The houses aren't just showpieces, they're all lived in. But Periwinkle Cottage is more than a home. It's a restaurant and tea garden as well, run by Colin and Sheila Wells. Now, if there's one thing I'm really partial to, it's a good cup of tea. I'd go miles for one. And Colin and Sheila have turned the simple act of brewing a pot of tea into an art form. They recently won the Tea Council Award for serving the best tea in Britain. And I'm keen to find out how it's done. Cosy on top of the teapot, that's important, is it, Colin?
Yes, yes. It allows it to stay a little bit warmer anyway, out here particularly.
And also you like the tea to brew for a little while before it's poured.
Yes, this is something one gets a feel about, and we like to think it's about 4 minutes is about the right time.
You've also, I see on the tray here, got a tea strainer.
Yes.
That means obviously you'll use tea leaves.
Always leaf tea.
Never tea bags.
No, never.
So while I act as mum and pour out the tea, tell me, what is the secret of making a prize-winning, a really super cup of tea?
Well, I don't think there are many secrets. Most of it really is, or rather are, common sense things. For instance, one has the water always boiling, taking the pot to the water, stirring when the water's going in rather than afterwards.
And pouring milk in first?
Always the milk in first. That, I think, is one of the most important rules of all. And then I think it really is a question of just enjoying it.
What about the tea itself? Is it specially blended for you?
It's blended for the water in this part of the world by a local blender in Porlock, Derek Miles. And it is a very popular tea in this part of the world.
What's the special blend that you have?
This one that we use is a blend of Kenya and Assam.
Well, it's certainly all beautifully presented, and I'm sure that as a prize-winning cup of tea, it's going to taste absolutely delicious. Congratulations to you both, and cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Above the village, high up on Selworthy Beacon, as the day draws to a close, the light changes, and there's a softer look to Exmoor. This coast is famed for its sunsets. Poets and painters have been drawn here, just by the dying rays of the day's sun.
And Angela Rippon will be continuing her summer journey in 2 weeks' time.